if you got a big pod, you got a lot of mana, and you drop this thing and then double it, you're going to double the loss of life and double the life that you gain. Another bomb. Word to your moms, I came to drop bombs. Next was hello, my friends. Welcome to the Commander's Crypt. I am back with another exciting adventure. Today we've got Anhelo the Painter. I absolutely love this guy. So the other day we were playing a gameplay video, making a gameplay video, and which that'll come out here in the next day or two. And I was looking across the table and I was watching one of the Warlocks play this guy, and I was just looking across going, man, that guy is really strong. He almost won the game with this guy, and that was with a precon that was extreme, had goofy sorceries and instants and was extremely depowered. But as I was watching it, I was going, man, you know, that guy's really strong. So, and Anhelo the Painter is an all-star. He's got a bunch of things going for him. So he's in black, blue, and green, so you're going to have some badass sorceries. He is a legendary creature, vampire assassin. So because he's a vampire, that opens up a lot of doors too for a lot of these spells, as you will see. There's a lot of spells in here that work better or double or whatever if there's a vampire on the board, and that's what he is. So he is a vampire assassin with death touch, and the text box says the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2. And that's his strength, obviously. As you cast that spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater. When you do, copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. And then his flavor text says, every work of art is a hit. I actually, yeah, so as you can see, this guy, all you got to do really to make a strong deck with this guy is put some big bomby ass sorceries and instants in this deck, and you know, copy them when you sacrifice a creature, and boom, you're dropping mad bombs. So what I saw with the precon, the hardest part of this deck was getting the creature to sacrifice to then be able to double the spells. But I've changed that for you. We made a couple of changes that increases the tokens and all that kind of stuff. Another problem with the deck was it didn't have any teeth. You know, when it came out of the precon box, it had some mediocre sorceries and no big creatures to attack with or defend with, or it was very light on the creatures. So we're going to change that. You know, with this commander, you know, it copies sorceries and instants, so of course you're going to have a lot in there, but then your creature count's going to be light to be able to use that casualty or to attack or defend or whatever. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to use a token strategy in order to increase your forces as like a force multiplier. So that's what I did. You'll see I've got some token creators in there that help us block, attack, draw cards, and sacrifice to Anhelo so we can then double the spells. So without further ado, we will get into it. The first 12 cards are going to be cards that I changed. There's a couple of versions that you can make with this deck. There is the strong version, which I'm about to show you, but then there's the degenerate version, which I'm also going to show you, with a bunch of time walks. I mean, just imagine doubling time walks and having a bunch of them in the deck to where you can just chain into different time walks and just beat the crap out of your opponents. So after Anhelo, we've got Rekindling Phoenix. So there was a couple of Phoenix Eye in the deck. I guess the plan was with them, they were figuring that they'd put some Phoenix Eye in the deck. Then you could sacrifice them for the casualty, and then they could come back out of the graveyard. Okay, I get that. But that's just one creature. Why not have ways to make a bunch of tokens? So that's what we did. I took Rekindling Phoenix out and I put Mezio Mugger in. The reason why I did that is Mezio Mugger is very strong. He's basically Itali, the Primal Storm light. What he does is whenever he attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. You may play those cards this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So what I did with this deck is I got a bunch of bomb, instants, and sorceries, but then I figured it would be neat to take resources from the opponents. Whenever you play with Itali, the Primal Storm, you see how backbreaking he is when he comes out and he attacks, and he takes the top cards of everybody's libraries and puts them into play for free. You see that how back-breaking he is. And so when I saw this card come out with Nuka Pena, I was like, wow, I really like it. So I put it in there because what he does is he allows you to, with the Phoenix that was in there, he keeps coming back. But with Mezio Mugger, it allows you to exile the top cards of each player's library, deny them resources, but then you can play those cards. So you might be able to play, something big and badass with your Mezio Mugger. So I took the Rekindling Phoenix out and put the Mugger in. Next, we took out Skyclave Shade, and we replaced it with Geometric Nexus. So Skyclave Shade, kind of a goofy card. It's a 3/1 shade and kicker and all that kind of stuff, but it can't block, so you're able to get it out of your graveyard whenever a land enters the battlefield. You may cast it from your graveyard. Okay, so that was kind of neat and all, I guess, but I figured what I would do is, like I said, put some token generators in here. And so I put the Geometric Nexus in here. So for 2 colorless, it's an artifact, and it says whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of charge counters on Geometric Nexus equal to that spell's mana value. Then for 6 mana, you can tap it, remove all charge counters from the Nexus, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of charge counters removed this way. So you already are going to have some huge sorceries and instants. And then when, people around the table, when they're playing, anytime they play an instant or sorcery, whatever that mana cost is what the charge counters are going to get on this thing. And and the bigger the pot of people that you're playing in, this thing's going to get huge quick. So what it allows you to do, it's very good for blue decks. It allows you to be reactive with your counter spells and stuff. And then when it gets to your turn, if you haven't used your mana, you can tap 6 mana and pop out a big old creature. So I decided to do that. With this deck, I put a Geometric Nexus in here. Very, 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 very strong card. Next, we've got Determined Iteration. Okay, not a bad card. It's an enchantment for 1 red, 1 colorless at the beginning of combat in your turn. Populate. Populating is when you just create another token that's already out there. The token created this way gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. I figured instead of just, with this card, it's kind of a goofy card because you have to have a token out there already in order to use the card. And then it goes away. It's just kind of a goofy card. There's better cards. So I took it out and I replaced it with a Metallurgic Summonings. Very, very, very good card. Kind of on the same tip as Geometric Nexus, but it makes the creature right away, and you're gonna see there's a lot of big old sorceries and instants in here. So I took the iteration out and put Metallurgic Summonings in, 2 blue, 3 colorless. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Then 2 blue, 3 colorless, you can exile summonings, return all instant sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, activate this ability only if you control 6 or more artifacts. So, as you can see, this works really well in this deck. It pops out a creature as soon as you cast an instant or sorcery spell. And, you know, you're going to be popping out some big old mama summon, sorcery spells too. So this is a very good card. And then later on, it can help you get all of those instants and sorceries for Anhelo back out of the graveyard so you can then copy them again. So as you can see, a much better, change from determined iteration to metallurgic summonings. Sometimes I wonder what Wizards of the Coast is thinking. I mean, are they doing this on purpose to depower the decks? Or what? I don't know. Next, we've got Talrand's Invocation. Perfect example right here. Talrand's Invocation. So for 2 blue, 2 colorless, you can create 2 blue Drake creature tokens with flying. Well, you know what would be better than Talrand's Invocation? Why not just put Talrand in there? I mean, same casting cost. I get that, the invocation is a sorcery. I get that. But Talrand, he's, for this deck, he's amazing. He's a legendary creature, merfolk, wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So every time you play an instant or sorcery, again, you're making creatures that you can then sacrifice for the casualty costs. And that's the same thing with metallurgic summonings. Very good card. It allows you to go wide and tall, big creatures and small creatures. But then it creates creatures. As soon as you cast an instant or sorcery, it creates a creature that you can then later sacrifice if you want to double your instant or sorcery. So Talrand, Sky Summoner, fantastic card for this deck. Every time you cast an instant or sorcery, you're going to make a Drake, which you could then sacrifice later to double spells, which will then make a Drake. So you see where I'm going with this. Next is Woe Strider, another kind of weird creature. I get what they're doing here. They've got creatures that you can pull out of your graveyard, but there's better creatures out there to do that. There's token generators, or there's just better creatures that you can use to get out of the graveyard. 1 black, 2 colorless. When Woe Strider enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 white ghost creature token. Okay. White goat creature token. Okay. All right. That's cool. That's something to sacrifice. Oh, but by the way, the casualty sacrifice abilities in this deck are either 1, 2, or 3. So that doesn't help you. Then it says sacrifice on the creature scry 1. Okay, I guess you sacrifice the goat to scry. And then you can get the Woe Strider out of your graveyard, escaping, 2 black, 3 colorless. Exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You want your instants and sorceries in your graveyard so then you can recur them and take them out and double them again, right? So again, goofy, mediocre cards. It's a rare too. That's bizarre to me. But anyway, we took Woe Strider out and we put Bloodghast in there. Way better card. I mean, yeah, it's more expensive, but we're kind of going for a strong build with this deck. And changing this deck up from the precon isn't going to cost you a lot of money. So Bloodghast, I don't know. I can't remember how much they're going for these days. 2 black. He's a vampire spirit. He can't attack. Okay, that's fine. He has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. Okay, that's cool. And then he has landfall. So he's like that other creature I showed you earlier with the landfall, but better. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from your graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, so you can keep sacrificing this guy, and then when you play a land, he comes right back into play. So, and then you can keep sacrificing him. So here was the other landfall creature that they put in there. I guess you know, depending on what's going on, you keep this in there or whatever. But it costs you have to actually cast this out of your graveyard. Blood gas actually comes out. And I guess the good thing about the Shade is he's a 3/1. There are a couple of Casualty 3 spells in this deck. So anyway, yeah, so that's what we did. We took that out, put Bloodghast in. He's going to be better to sacrifice, and he's going to keep popping out. Wayfarer's Bauble. This is not a bad card, but, you know, I replaced it with Expedition Map. Expedition Map, same thing, 1 colorless and then 2 to activate. Sacrifice it, search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. What's better than getting a basic land? Getting a dual land for the same cost. Body count. I took this card out. I kind of looked at it and I was like, you know, this could be a good card. You could draw a bunch of cards probably, but I replaced it with something better. So for 1 black, 2 colorless, it's an instant. It's got Spectacle. You may cast this spell for its Spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn. Okay, so if you attack or whatever, you know, you zap somebody or whatever, you can then draw a card for each creature that died under your control this turn. That was the problem with this card. I found it to be too situational. So even though there are situations in which you could draw a bunch of cards with this, but I just decided to take it out and put a Mana Geyser in instead. What Mana Geyser is going to do is it's going to allow you to power your big sorcery and instant bombs that you're going to hit your opponents with. So, you know, I sacrifice card draw for big bomb ability, but like I said, body count is situational, so we took that out, put a Mana Geyser in. There was a chain reaction in the deck, kind of a board wipe. I took that out as well and put a Crackle of Power in. If you've been watching any of my episodes here, you know we're super high on this card. I would go out and get these cards. This thing, I'm the only channel that's talking about this card. I literally see this card every time I go play Magic, clear a table. Especially now. This card has become so strong now because of all of the treasure tokens that are created. So I'm telling you, go get this card. I got this one for $7. It's a foil, the non-extended foil. For 2 red and XXX, Crackle with Power deals 5 times X damage to each up to 5 targets. So as you can see, with a big old Mana Geyser or treasure tokens, and there are ways to make treasure tokens in this deck, and I'll show you, you can drop multiple anvils on people's heads with this thing. I'm telling you, this card is so strong. I would start picking them up. I don't think Wizards going to be able to ever reprint this card once people realize how strong it is. Our motto here at the Commander's Crypt is if you have 2 red in your deck, you should have a Crackle with Power in there. The last time I saw this card played, guy made a bunch of treasure tokens, like 20 or 30, and I can't even remember what the number of damage was, but I think it was 4 or 5 guys. He just won the game with it. Next, I took out Parness, the subtle brush, kind of a weird chick. You know, I usually like the weird chicks, but you know, not in this case. So she's Grixis and 2, Vampire Wizard. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless that player plays for life. Okay, that's pretty awesome. That's like ward 4 for life. Anytime anybody wants to target any of your stuff, they got to lose 4 life. But then it says, whenever you copy a spell, up to 1 target opponent may also copy that spell. They may choose new targets for that copy. I just, you know, I liked the ward on this thing, but I figured there was better things that we could play with. And so I put a Revel in Riches in here in her place. I mean, ward is good, but Revel in Riches is probably 10 times better. 1 black, 4 colorless. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sack, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But then it also has a win con. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. So this works really well when people are blocking and attacking each other and killing each other's stuff. You get treasure tokens for it, but then if you kill things with, you know, some board wipes that you have, you could win the game with that win con, or turn around and use those treasure tokens to play a big Crackle with power and win the game. So I took Parness out and replaced her with Revel in Riches. Next, there was a Puppeteer click. You know, again, kind of weird. 2 black, 3 colorless. It takes a creature out of a graveyard, that's good, but why not make it a sorcery so Anhelo could copy it? So I didn't get why Wizards put that in there. So we replaced it with Torment of Hailfire. So as you can see, a much better card. You know, it's another bomb, 2 black and X. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So with your treasure tokens, with your mana geyser, with all the lands, this deck has 36 lands in it plus mana dorks. I actually took a couple lands out. It had 38 lands in it. But anyway, so I took Puppeteer Click out and put Torment of Hailfire in here. If you make a big old Torment of Hailfire with a mana geyser or a bunch of lands and treasure tokens and then double it, that's going to be game ending. So just like Crackle with Power, you know, it's another big old bomb that Anhelo can power and double. Next, there was another Phoenix, Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame. You know, I get it. They're trying to have cards keep coming out of your graveyard so you can keep doing the casualty thing. But I took that out and replaced it with a Wandering Archaist. Yeah, I gotta quit. I gotta quit buying Japanese cards. A Wandering Archaic. Yeah, so I put this card in here because we're kind of copying spells anyway, right? And this guy's really strong. The other day, I already knew this guy was strong, but this guy is super strong. So for 5 colorless, he is a 4/4 creature. And basically what it says is whenever an opponent plays a spell, if they don't pay 2 extra, you get to copy the spell. So I figured since you were copying spells anyway, we would put this in the deck. And what this card does is it slows your opponents down, because let's say they got a Time Walk or something for 5 mana and they've only got 5 mana. They may not cast it because they know that they don't have enough mana to pay the tax, so it doesn't get copied and you get a copy. So, and then if they forget or whatever, you get to copy all these spells. It's a very fantastic card. So I changed Cyrix out and put him in. You know, again, I get what they were doing with the Phoenixes, where they were trying to have them come out so you could keep sacking them for the casualty. But Cyrix is really just kind of a crappy Phoenix too, just hard to get out. So I replaced them with that, and as you can see, I've got a lot of token generators. Another good card to put in here would be Shark Typhoon. 1 blue, 5 colorless. What it does is it also makes you, you know, XX flying sharks whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Also would go very well in this deck since it is very instant and sorcery intensive. Call the Skybreaker was another card they put in there. Basically, you create a token and then you can keep creating tokens, replaying this thing from your graveyard. Okay, I get it. But like I said, with Shark Typhoon and Geometric Nexus and all that stuff. You're going to have plenty of tokens, and there's more token generators in here I haven't showed you yet. I replaced Call the Skybreaker with Blood Tribute. So I figured what was better, making a 5/5 dummy, or for 1 mana less, basically stealing 40 points of life from your opponents and giving it to yourself. Blood Tribute is one of those sorceries I was telling you about that uses Anhelo since he's a vampire. It's a bomb. 2 black, 4 colorless. It's a sorcery kicker. Tap an untapped vampire you control. That's Anhelo. Then it says target opponent loses half his or her life rounded up. If Blood Tribute was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So with Anhelo, you can sacrifice a dummy, double this sorcery, then turn around, tap Anhelo, and turn that loss into your gain. Very, very good card. Zinderplint's Judgment, we took that out. 1 blue, 4 colorless for each player. Choose friend or foe. Okay. They either create a token or return a creature. Okay. I figured what would be better than that? Exsanguinate. Another bomb. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So that kill. If you got a big pod, you got a lot of mana, and you drop this thing and then double it, you're going to double the loss of life and double the life that you gain. Another bomb. Word to your moms, I came to drop bombs. Next was colorless. The reason why I put him in here is he is a cheap consecrated sphinx. He is a legendary creature, elder dinosaur. He can't be countered. Then you have no maximum hand size. Then whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card. Then discard 3 cards, exile him, return him to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So it can't be countered. It increases your hand size. You get to draw all kinds of cards when people are casting non-creature spells. Then if somebody is, and nobody can take it or kill it because you'll discard 3 of those cards that you've been getting from all of the card draw you've been getting, and then you exile them and bring them back. So very good. This is going to fill your hand full of all these big bomb instants and sorceries. Maestro's Charm, we took that out and we put Atali Primal Storm in. I mean, what's better than choosing one of these? Atali Primal Storm. This guy is so good. 2 red, 4 colorless. Whenever he attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. So that's what we're doing with this deck. So this guy, he can attack, he can block, and he's going to, he's backbreaking. When he, especially if you're just in a 4-player pod, extremely backbreaking. And then when you're in a bigger pod, it's more stuff you get, so backbreaking. So we put that in there. So he works with the mugger that I showed you earlier. And then I replaced some of the lands. I replaced 1 swamp with a cut to ribbons. This is a very good card. Again, it could be a bomb. Early, you can kill a commander. 1 red, 1 colorless. Cut deals 4 damage to target creature. And then later, it is a big old bomb. The aftermath says, for 2 black X, cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Each opponent loses X life. So you cast that, then double it, and boom, big old bomb. Took another island out and replaced it with Glass Pool Shore. What it does is it is a utility land. It comes to play tapped, but then also you can copy something of yours. It becomes the Glass Pool Mimic. Enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a shapeshifter rogue. Okay, so yeah, why not? You can use it as a land or as a dude if you want. Then we've got, I replaced one of the mountains with Casualty's Cliffs. You know, Casualty may not be bad to put in here either. I love that guy. He's a 2 red, 3 colorless. I think he's a 5/4 ogre. You play him, and whenever somebody attacks you, every creature attacking you creates a 3/3 ogre. So it kind of deters your opponents from attacking you because you'll just block everything anyway, and you might be making more bigger creatures than they have. So very. I may put a Casualty in here and then you could sacrifice them for the casualty spells, which I haven't showed you yet. So Casualty's Cliffs, it's a mountain, but then you can fling a creature and do damage to somebody, and it's an instant. So there you go. You could probably copy it too. Next, we took another island out and we put Mystic Sanctuary in here. Very good card, especially in this deck. It's an island. Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. When it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target insert sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. So there you go. You play this and pull one of those big old bomb sorceries out of your deck to recast it and double it again. Goblin Electromancer. You know, you could leave this in there. I took it out because I found I knew of another creature that did the same thing. You know, the Goblin Electromancer, instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, okay. But then the Nightscape Familiar, he's a zombie. Blue spells and red spells you play cast 1 less to play, and you can regenerate him. So he can block for you, and then creatures, enchantments, or any spell, red or blue, it gives you 1 less to cast. So, you know, you could leave Goblin Electromancer and put Nightscape Familiar in there as well, depending on what you're doing. Spellbinding Soprano, kind of a weird card. I took that out. 1 red, 1 colorless, and I replaced it with Crypt Breaker. Crypt Breaker is an awesome card. For 1 black, you get a 1/1 zombie. But then for 1 black, 1 colorless, discard a card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield. Then it says tap 3 untapped zombies you control, draw a card, and you lose 1 life. So that's another reason why I put Nightscape Familiar in here. There's zombie tribal things that go on in this deck as well that help. So this guy's a zombie, you make a zombie, and if this guy's out, you can tap these guys and start drawing cards. So that's why I took Spellbinding Soprano out and put a token generator in there instead. Xander's Pact. This is a good card. I almost kept it in, but I replaced it with Curse of Unbinding. Okay, so the problem with Xander's Pact is it's a good card for 2 black, 4 colorless, casualty 2. You can copy this. Each opponent exiles the top card of their library. You may cast spells among those cards this turn. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to the spell's mana value rather than pay its mana cost. You know, I might keep this card in the deck, but the problem is you double this spell, and, you know, but then you have to spend a bunch of life casting these spells. If you've just dropped a big old, you know, life gain spell, then yeah, I get it. But when we were playing the other night, one of the Warlocks played this, and he cast 2 cards. One was converted mana 4, and the other one's 5, and he lost 9 life. And then a board wipe destroyed everything that he had done anyway. So good card, you know, I don't know, maybe keep it in, but it's going to cost you a lot of life to pay the good stuff. So I just took him out and put a Curse of Unbinding in there. Kind of the same thing for 1 more mana. Enchant player, at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest of the revealed cards into their graveyard. So I just thought this was a way better card, because if you know, it kills somebody's deck. It makes them, it denies them cards that go into their graveyard, and then you get to put a creature out every turn that they have. Now, of course, you're not going to do this to a Muldrotha deck, but a big green Stompy deck, you could do that. They don't have graveyard recursion in green Stompy, and you're trying to get a big old beast or dragon or whatever. So I took Xander's Pack out and put Curse of Unbinding in. Damnable Pack, very good card. 2 black X. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. You could double this and kill somebody with it, or you could use it yourself and draw another handful of cards. So that's why it's in this deck. Reign of the Pit. Yeah, so that's it. I think that's all the changes I did. So what we have now is 10 cards that are powerful, but if you want to, you can replace them with Time Walks. So you could either go for the very strong build or the degenerate, your friends are going to kick you out of the room build. You know, Time Walks are kind of annoying when you start chaining into them and doubling them and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Reign of the Pit, 2 black, 4 colorless. Each player sacrifices a creature. Create an XX black demon creature token with flying, where X is the number total power of the creature sacrificed this way. If you double that with Anhelo, you're going to get 2 big old demons. So that's cool. You could, instead of that, play a Time Walk, walk the eons. Next, we've got Waste Management, 1 black, 2 colorless. You can kick it. Exile, let's kick it. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. If the spell was kicked, instead exile target player's graveyard. Create a 2 black rogue creature token for each creature card exiled this way. So this could be good. You could, for, let me see, 5, 7 mana, you could exile somebody's graveyard, make a bunch of zombies, but then you could copy it with Anhelo and do it to 2 graveyards and make a bunch of zombies. So it could be a good card. You could potentially, like I said, it would cost about 7 to cast that. You could potentially put a Nexus of Fate instead of that. Next, we've got Dread Summons, 2 black and X. Each player mills X cards. For each creature card put into a graveyard this way, you create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. I wish they weren't tapped. So imagine you've got, let's say 8 mana, okay? So you play this, but then you copy it. So now, each player mills 6 cards, and for all the creatures put in there, you make zombies. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But instead of that, if you wanted to, you could play a Temporal Mass Manipulation, 2 blue, 3 colorless. Take an extra turn after this one. It goes into your graveyard, and then you can take it back out, use it again, and double it with Anhelo's ability. So I'm showing you powerful cards that you could make an awesome deck with. But then if you want to go with the degenerate Time Warp way, then do that too. Make an example, 1 black, 3 colorless. Each opponent separates the creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of those piles. Each opponent sacrifices the creatures in their chosen pile. You could take that out and put a Time Warp instead. Next, we've got Audacious Swap. Audacious Swap, kind of a weird card. It's a Chaos Warp. So, you could keep this in there and just put another Chaos Wap in there. Or you could put a Temporal Mastery in there. It's got Miracle, so it's a time walk. If you draw this, boom, cast it immediately. 1 blue, 1 colorless. Take an extra turn after this one, then exile it. Okay. Next, we've got a little chat. 1 blue, 1 colorless, Casualty 1. You can copy it. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand. and the other on the bottom of your library. You could swap him out and put Time Stream Navigator in there. One blue, one colorless. The cool thing about this card is you can keep using it for 2 blue, 2 colorless. Put Time Stream Navigator in the bottom of owner's library, take an extra turn after this one, and then you can find it again later and play it again. Works very well in Cascade decks. So next we've got Extravagant Replication, 2 blue, 4 colors. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. This is kind of cool because it allows you to, copy permanents that you have that are going to do cool things. So it makes a token of it. So, and it doesn't say to sacrifice them later. You get to keep the token. But if you wanted to, I guess you could put a Part the Water Veil in there and double that and get 2 turns. Whoops. Next, we've got Maestro's Confluence. You could take that out, and for 1 mana more, you could play an Expropriate. This is a super strong card in this deck. For 9 mana, you could copy this, and then anybody that chooses time, you would get, so if you got a bunch of players in a pod, you get a bunch of time and doubled. And you could double the things you take. Very strong card in this deck. Multiple time walks. If you want to really anger your friends, you can go for the degenerate build. Next, Frantic Search. Beacon of Tomorrows for 2 blue, 6 colorless. You can take an extra turn, and then it cycles back into your deck. And then Drawn from Dreams, that allows you to draw cards. You could replace that with Temporal Trespass. For 3 blue and 8, you can take an extra turn after this one. And like I said, you could copy all of these. But then you could delve with this. This could be just a 3 mana cost spell, but it's still a bomb. Then after that, we've got Dogged Detective. 1 more card you can put in here would be Time Stretch. Time Stretches, 2 blue, 8 colorless, take 2 turns after this one. If you copy that, that's 4 turns. So next you got Dogged Detective. He helps you with your casualty cost. You can sacrifice him, double your spells, and then when an opponent draws their 2nd card each turn, Dogged Detective goes back into your hand. Kind of a neat card. Cryptic Pursuit. This is a very good card. When I first read it, I was like, okay, I don't get it. But then it's a really fantastic card in this deck. For red, blue, 2 colorless, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell from your hand, manifest the top card of your library. So every time, it's an enchantment. Every time you cast an instant sorcery, you get to manifest a creature. Then, whenever a face-down creature you control dies, exile it. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast that card till the end of your next turn. So, what this does is every time you cast an instant or sorcery, you get to manifest a card from your deck onto the battlefield. It's a 2/2 creature. When it dies, you can then play that instant or sorcery through into your next turn. So, very good card. At first, when I read it, I didn't get it, but very, very, very good card. Hex. Love this card. Destroy 6 target creatures. When killing 5 just isn't enough. Next, we've got Sever the Bloodline. You could double this. Another board wipe, and it's got Flashback. Preordain. Draw your cards. Scry Cormella, Glamour Thief. What she does is once she's out, you can tap 1 colorless, and she's a mana dork, basically, for instance and sorcery spells. For 1, you can filter 3 Grixis. Nexus Factor Fiction, very good card. And again, you could be making creatures every time you create an instant or sorcery with the Geometric Nexus, the Metallurgic Summonings, and the Shark Typhoon. Mimic Vat, very good card in this deck as well. Somebody, you know, a big creature gets tossed into the graveyard. You can now make it, and then you could sacrifice it for the casualty cost to double the spells for Anhelo. Dig Through Time, another big bomb instant. You can delve, look at the top 7 cards of your library, put them 2 in your hand, the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. Feed the Swarm, one of the best cards to come out in Magic in a long time. Yeah, I said it. Black, finally, after 30 years, has ways of killing enchantments. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. Very good card. Double Vision. This is a good card, too. 2 red, 3 colors. Whenever you cast the first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Fantastic in this deck. Deep Analysis. 1 blue, 3 colorless. It has flashback. Target player draws 2 cards. Then you can flash it for cheaper. Pay 3 life. And double that. River's Rebuke. 2 blue, 4 colorless. Return all non-land permanent target player controls to their owner's hand. You could double that. Very strong card. And then that's it. I hope you like my Anhelo build. You know, after that, it's pretty much... Wait, hold on. I do have a bunch of other stuff in here. What am I doing? Okay, so got a Ponder, cast Dissident Mage. That allows you to draw a card. Play Sorcerers and Instants out of your graveyard. Very good in this deck. Flawless Forgery, Casualty 3. Exile target instant card from an opponent's graveyard. Copy that card. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. And then you've got the Mana Rocks, Signet, and I bet one more Signet. And that's it. Now that's the end. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my Anhelo build. This guy is strong. Even if you don't have a whole lot of money, you can get this guy for a couple of bucks. And find some cheap, big old instants and sorceries, put it in there, and you've got a very strong deck. So I hope you liked my build. Yeah, so that's it. We are going to get on out of here, and we'll see you next time on the next Commander's Crypt. Got a couple of PSAs. We've got Patreon. We've got a website, and any cosplay players, please contact me. We're going to be featuring cosplay players on this channel. So that's it. I'm out of here. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time here on the Commander's Crypt, New Orleans.